Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, Tim Keys, and I'm back with another video. And this time I just wanted to do of a more in-depth presentation of Reason 12. Um, I figured this will help those who might be on the fence about the product. So I want to show you some of the features that are in the product as a whole. And then afterwards, I'm going to do more of an in-depth discussion and talk about who this product is for and who it's not for, and go from there. So Reason 12 tends to have one of the more polarizing updates when it comes to, what they provide for their customers. You either love it or you hate it. But, it has all of the basic features that you need to make music. So let's get started. I'm going to show you some things and talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses as I move through this video and actually make a track and discuss all of this stuff in real time. So I already got some things curated. I am going to use some loops because that's how I'm rolling for this video. All right, so if you notice here, this loop is set to 142 BPM and my track is at 157. So I'm going to take my loop from the search engine, drag it down, and as you notice, all right, it's in there. But one of the things you'll notice is that if you're dragging audio files, wave files, directly into the sequencer, it will not immediately match the pitch to the sequencer. Pardon me, it will not match the tempo to the tempo of your song. So that's something that will require a little bit of finessing, not much. So I got a 2-bar loop right here. I'm going to hold down Control. I'm going to go to the end of the loop. I'm going to click on it. You'll notice the time icon. I'm just going to drag it back. And I'm going to re-click on that loop. So that's pretty much it, fits to the tempo. I'm going to take my cutter, my razor, I'm going to duplicate that because I don't like the space. So one thing to consider, you will have to do some stretching to bring those in to make them fit. Not a big deal unless you're dealing with music that's not in your 4/4 time traditionally. Stuff that's in 3/4 time, 6/8 time, if it's not labeled in your loop packs or whatever it is you're using, you're going to have a little bit of difficulty trying to finesse that and figure that out unless you have a really good ear. So just be prepared to be patient in that respect. Let's see, while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and do this part. Let's go back to PC and I'm going to show you how this thing handles audio when it comes to pitching. And so I'm going to throw that in there. Come on.
I've been trying not to go off the deep.
And I'm going to create another audio track. I'm going to drag this down. And so I have my audio track here. This has already been polished. You may even recognize it.
I've been trying not to go off the deep end. I don't think you want to give me a reason.
Shout out to Lecrae, Deep in That Camp. Great song. So click on the loop You go into pitch edit, and I'll expand the screen. I don't want that yet. So you actually have the ability to adjust pitch, if you will, kind of like you would adjust MIDI in your piano roll, except for you're using audio. The only limitation with this is that it can only handle monophonic audio. So if you're doing anything like vocals or anything like drum lines, basic drum lines, you're all set. Anything that has polyphony, this will not handle that. So it's a welcome addition. Most DAWs have this. FL Studio has a new tone. I think, yeah, Ableton definitely. I don't know if it can. Yeah, Ableton converts audio to MIDI. So it does do that. I don't know if it has this same feature with the Melodyne-esque type adjustments you can make. So that's another perk for Reason that comes out the gate. Other DAWs may include it in Melodyne, and I'll talk about that towards the end of this video. I just wanted to show you that, and you can adjust.
Give me away, son. I've been trying to give me away, son. I've been trying not to go. Give me away, son. I've been trying not to go off the deep end, away, son. I've been trying not to go off the deep end. I don't think you give me away, son. I've been trying not to go off the deep away, son.
So yeah, you can take audio, monophonic audio, vocals, and adjust them, smooth them out. So if you're doing a recording and you mess up, or your artist messes up in certain parts, you can clean it up a little bit, given that the take isn't too terrible. So that's a feature that's been there since Reason 9 2016. So all right, I'm gonna go back to this loop. Now for me, I don't normally do my personal MIDI with a piano roll, but I can show you that. I'm going to shorten this up. I'll highlight that. And since last version of Reason 11, they give you the ability that when you draw in your MIDI information, you can do single note input or multiple note inputs. This is fairly decent when you are doing your hi-hat lines. So I'm gonna go into the grid. I like to keep everything snapped and make sure I have that clicked on. So it's pretty straightforward. So I don't want that going on right now. You want to get fancy with it and do all the rolls. Let me expand my screen. There we go. Actually, flip color. I want to make that blue. Thank you. Gonna make things a lot easier to see. Uh-oh. Gonna hit Control D. So, as you can kind of see, depending on what you're using, and I'm using a loop, so some would consider that cheating, but cranking out ideas is fairly straightforward. I'm gonna go ahead and lay my bass line down. All right, yep, let's do that. I like that. Let's undo that and let's, come on. There we go. I'm going to count in because my sense of timing is off today. Uh-oh. I think I moved that in the wrong spot. Over. Gonna do the same thing here. Put a compressor on that. That'll work. So, that's the basics. Let's start back here. And yeah, this is very basic. Another thing you can do is F8. I'm on the second riff and I want to make the octave, I want to make the notes go up one octave. I already got it set up so that when it transposes, it's up to 12. I just hit apply. I'm going to do the same thing for that one. Hit F8 again, hit apply. Some people like to do it in the piano roll. It's not quite my cup of tea. synth. I'm gonna play over that part. I might keep the loop, I might not. And I am going to go here. On the melody, because I'm lazy, I'm gonna drag that in. One of the nice things about Reason, it's a strength of theirs, is its sound design capabilities. You can, you know, depending on what you use in your skill base, you can pretty much create whatever sound you want. This right here is Europa, been out for a while, 3 oscillator wavetable synth. You can import user waves, and yeah. The only downside to using this is that you can only import 1 user wave for the whole synth. So you got 3 oscillators, but only 1 imported user wave can go into this whole synth. You can also use this to customize it. If you go, let me see, yep, envelopes 3 and 4. So that means you would select 3 and 4 or 4, pardon me, and you would essentially start shaping this piece right here to make it into its own waveform. So that's a workaround for that. It would be nice if they added, you know, 3 user waveforms for all 3 instead of just 1 for the whole synth. But that's okay. Let's see if I can play that. That's simple chord progression. One thing about this type of music, simplicity is always better than complexity, because the moment you get an artist like a rapper, yeah, you want to leave enough space for the rapper or your singer, for that matter, to do their thing. Let's go here. Click in because I don't have any timing. All right. Again, just a little change. All right, let's go back here to another instrument. Pretty much got the meat and potatoes already out. What do I want to use? Let's see. Keep it basic. I'm gonna go with this. Now, one thing you will also notice, if you're coming from another version of Reason, this is running kind of slow, comparatively speaking. For me, I can honestly say that coming from Reason 10 to Reason 11, I noticed a difference in my speed when it came to how long it took things to boot up. I would have songs that I had been working on in Reason 10, and when I updated to Reason 11, things used more DSP and things took longer to load, even though I was essentially using the same program with the same resources. So keep that in mind. And Reason 12 is even slower. Like, I've tapped into like loading issues a few times. Anyhow, tape strings. Now I have that. I'm going to right click. I'm going to select all zones. And let's say got my LFO. What I want to do I don't want to do too much. All right, that LFO. I just wanted to kind of mess with the sound a little bit, the curve to pitch, to give it that jacked up, unpleasant sound. I'm also going to reset this device. No, thank you. Come on. All right, that'll work. I'm gonna mess with this just a smidge. Not too much. I just want it. Sound a smidge terrible. Just a smidge. Give it that, you know, that warm tape sound that everybody likes. All right. A cool feature that most people know about, if you've been using Reason for a while, is the ability to generate chords and melodies. Reason does it its own way with the use of players, and so I'm going to use this. I don't even know if I got the right chords. I was on C minor when I played. Nope, C major. No, that's not going to work. So this is what I'm going to do anyway. If you don't already know, and I'm silencing these out just so you can see it. One of the benefits to having these type of devices is not only can you pair them and chain them together to do lots of cool stuff and make lots of creative articulations, you can also take that information and bounce it out to track. So let's do that. That sounds terrible. It's too much LFO on the pitch. But you get the idea. You can take that and now you have MIDI information. The one thing I will say I do not like about the scales and chords, and shame on me because I have not bothered to use the custom side of things. If you use any one of these chords because you know you're musically deficient, and that's okay. But if you use these, they tend to lock you into a very, like, they'll lock you into the scale. I like Phrygian. Phrygian is usually a go-to. But, you know, just keep that in mind. It's very straightforward. And if you're using it, it will lock you into a chord. I usually prefer to play everything out by hand. But for demonstration purposes, I wanted you to see that that is a real thing in Reason. So, yeah, there's other things you can do. Let's see. Depending on the device that you're using, you can, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. Control L. However you, depending on your device and how you work, you can work strictly within the device itself. So let's see, I'll do a 32, turn that up, hit the run. I know this sounds terrible, but just bear with me. It sounds so terrible. So you got that flam, you can use that. And if you like that, you just right click on it, copy it to track. You can also use the F8 option to explode everything to track. So then you would have everything there and you could work in the piano roll as is. I don't want to get too much into depth. I think I've covered many of the basics. I'm going to take that other loop out. So yeah, Reason as a whole, it's a decent DAW. Like, it's powerful, and you know, it's about 400 bucks, which, you know, isn't terrible. But, you know, 400 bucks is 400 bucks. Likewise, same thing with the upgrade. The upgrade is there we go. So very heavy on the low end, probably too muddy, but you get the idea. You can make whatever music you want. Got my timer on. So yeah, to get an idea out, make music, it's fairly straightforward. I'm trying to be mindful of the time because I don't want to go too far over and make this a very long video. So Reason, like any other DAW, at this point in 2021, it's pretty much all about workflow and what you prefer, how you prefer to work. That's going to be the main thing. If you're someone that's new to Reason, if you're looking for a Reason to behave like FL Studio, or you're looking for Reason to behave like Cubase, I was going to say Cakewalk, or if you're looking for Reason to behave like Ableton, in some ways there's overlap. There are certain features that a lot of these DAWs have in common, and then there are certain features that these DAWs, they do things in their own unique way, and in some ways, it boils down to preference. So if you're on the fence and you're curious about the workflow, I would honestly say, check it out. Check it out. See if you like it. They used to do a 30-day trial for the perpetual license. I think they still do that. You can also do the subscription, 20 bucks a month, 7 days it's free, or you can catch it on a promotion. Sometimes they have those. Recently, they've had the $3 for 3 months, and those are pretty good because you get 90 days to test out the DAW for, you know, $3 to see if you like it. And, you know, even though it's a subscription, at that point, whatever you create, you can save it. Whatever music you make, you can save that, and you know, once you're done with your song, you just export to loop, export song to loop as an audio file, and, you know, There you go. Wave or MP3, and then you're good to go. You get to keep that song. You don't get to reopen it up once the subscription is finished. So there's that. But you do get access to the features and you get to keep it. So there's that. Now, on the other hand, this is where things get dicey. If you're a long-term user, and you've been with Reason for a while, you're not a stranger to the frustrations you may or may not have with the company. And that is primarily its update cycle. So how much is $130? How much is it worth to you? $130 is fairly inexpensive compared to some DAWs and their update cycles and how they go. But money is money. And people want value for their money. And so only you can determine the value of your dollar and where you want to put your money. The Mimic Creative Sampler that came out, I've done quite a few reviews on that, so I don't want to go over it. It's a nice addition. It would have been better if they had brought it out a little bit earlier, a couple years earlier. But it's nice that they have it. Another issue that some people have brought up is the fact that, yes, it does do key detection, but it does not necessarily differentiate between like a C sharp scale or a C minor scale. The other thing I noticed that when you're using this sampler is if I put a sample in at, let's say it's 130 BPM and my track is 150. When I put my sample in this device, the sample is going to play at its original BPM. It's not going to be modified. And so for some people, that's an issue. For other people, it's not a big deal. Being that there are other devices that, like an Ableton, you throw your sample in. When you throw your sample in Ableton, if you throw your sample into a device like Simpler, it will automatically jump to the tempo of the track. So if your sample's at 150 BPM, but your track, your whole song that you're working on, your session is at 80, then the drum is going to automatically go to the 80 if it's in the simpler instrument. But if you put it just in session mode and it's playing back in session mode, then it will lock. The track will go to the tempo of the song. Or pardon me, the loop will go to the tempo of the track. Basically everything fits together and it eliminates the extra steps you have to go through to make everything fit, which is a huge lifesaver. This doesn't do that. Another thing that was interesting is that this thing does not handle Rex files. So even in 2021, this does not replace Recycle. Do you need Recycle? No. Not really, but the sheer fact that you can have Rex files and you still need a separate device to utilize them, when other developers like ImageLine has a product called Direct Wave. It can read Rex files, sound font files, wave files, MP3, OGG or OGG. It can detect that stuff and read it just fine without any conflict. So it's interesting that a competing developer can utilize the technology of Reason in some ways better than Reason can. Like, no cap. Let me I'll show you. And so I find things like that interesting, because if another developer that has nothing to do with your company can do that, then how come you as a creator of your own product cannot utilize things to its fullest extent? And of course. All right. Plugins. Direct wave. As you can see here, SF2, sound font, recycle, battery. Like this can handle almost anything as long as it's not locked in. So that's pretty interesting that, you know, your competitors can handle your proprietary, you know, software and formats, if you will, better than you can in their device. Just saying, that's kind of important. However, you know, as we've discussed in other videos, welcome edition. You got the Combinator. The Combinator, it's also another one of those. It's an update. Is it worth $120 clean out the gate? Or pardon me, 130. Is it 130 bucks out the gate? Is that worth it? It depends on what your needs are. It takes a very middle of the road approach to enabling you to make your own sounds, or to customize, I should say, the instruments that you want to use, and putting everything in a concentrated spot. And if you're good at CV routing, you can get a lot of traction with this device. If you're looking to truly build your own instrument out the gate, it leaves a few things to be desired, because it doesn't allow you to do that. You have to use all the components that come with your version of the software. And again, if you're buying the perpetual license of Reasons 12, you'll get the Kong, Redrum, the Rex Loop, Europa, Grain, Now Mimic, Thor, Subtractor, Mouse Drum. Like, you get all of these out of the gate. And for effects, you'll get all of these out of the gate. You even get those compressors and stuff too. So it's not bad. And there's a lot there. You get your players, you get all of these. You get the new Combinator, you get all of these. But there's, you know, you're still, I won't say limited. Yeah, if you're someone that wants to go deeper and really like, all right, make your own product, then you might be better suited exploring that option. The Combinator is more for people who want to have the customization of creating a sampler and the panels and the interface, but you don't necessarily want to go into like making a full-fledged instrument. So Combinator would appeal to a lot of people that are in that space. If you're someone who's looking to do more like programming, then I would say Max for Live is for you, or Reactor is for you, or Halion is for you, or Contact is for you. Those products are more expensive, but you can get Contact on sale, or as part of the complete package. Halion goes on sale occasionally between the December, January months. Reactor, same thing as Contact, because they're part of the same product line, same company. And Ableton's Max for Live, if you get Max for Live, I think you can buy it separately for $200, but it comes as part of Ableton's suite for about $700 to $800, depending on where you get it from. So you have those options if you want more of the heavy programming. If you want devices where they'll allow you to, you know, kind of have more than one effect running, or more than one, I'll show you what I'm talking about, more than one instrument going, then something like Complete Control would be ideal for you, because then you don't have to worry about going into like the heavy stuff. You don't have to do any major routing or, you know, CV connecting this to that to make it work. And if you don't need any fancy interfaces, then Complete Control is another option. I don't know if they still sell this. Akai VIP, that's another option where you can have multiple instruments and multiple outputs for effects. I think you can have up to 8. I've used it a couple of times. It also has a couple of MIDI generating features for like chord progressions and whatnot. So it's a nice alternative. I don't know if it still is on sale. It might not be, but I think that's another option still. And then there are other DAWs now, like Studio One has a Combinator. I think Bitwig has its own approach to combinators. Sheesh, even Traction or Waveform 11, they have their own version of a combinator, very similar to Reason, where you can create these customized panels to control various combinations of instruments to the extent where you could create an XY pad to control parameters. Even if your plugin doesn't have a XY pad, you can kind of like program it on the panel to do various things. So the competition is stiff. And to be frank, if you're coming from Reason 10, there isn't much that has changed since this version of Reason 10 all the way to now. You get, from Reason 12, if you're making that jump from 10 to 12, the only thing you get is the Mimic sampler, and you get an updated Combinator. And you get these 2 effects. And you also get the ability to draw your your MIDI across the piano roll, which is nice. It's convenient. It saves me time on, making my hi-hat patterns. But I also have a controller that will allow me to do the same thing. You just hit the multi-note. Yep, note repeat. You just hit note repeat and you can get the same thing. So those features are not, they're welcome, they help, but they're not groundbreaking. And I think that's one of the things that has a lot of people on the edge about Reason, is because for the Reason's history, they tend to not do well with its updates compared to other DAWs. Is it a powerful piece of software? Yes. Can you do a lot of great things with it? Yes. I just got done making a trap beat. Love it or hate it, loops and all, it's there. You can hear it. It can handle samples fairly decently. It's there. This is a great product for what it can do. And if you like the workflow, then by all means, use it. Would I recommend updating right now? No. And here's why. So far, Reason 12 has ran slower than my other 2 versions. When it comes to loading up the same sounds and the same patches, this one is a lot slower than when I run Reason 11. And, that's not okay for me. The 4K, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but there's just a difference in speed. They don't have VST3 support. That's another issue. If you make your product to be able to be used as a VST and it's used in the format of VST3, why can't you provide VST3 support within your own software? Yes, I think it's great that Reason can be used as a VST or as a DAW. That's pretty cool. But that should not be the only thing that should not be the main draw to a product like this. Mind you, I'm going there. FL Studio. You can use FL Studio as a DAW and as a VST. You have all of FL Studio running entirely through your Cubase, your Ableton, your Cakewalk, your Reason, the whole shot. But ImageLine does not promote FL Studio exclusively or primarily as a VST. MPC, both Beats and the full version. You can also run them as a standalone software for production, or you can use it as a plug-in within another DAW. However, with all of the bells and whistles that comes with MPC Studio, including being a part of the MPC Live and X and One units, the MPC software, the Akai does not boast the MPC software solely or primarily as something to be used in another DAW. They market it as you can get busy with the software. And so yeah, well, if you're a long-term Reason user, I can understand your frustration. And in my opinion, bear in mind I'm just one out of the 7 billion people on Earth. As a consumer of a product, I would be on the fringes about buying this product, knowing its update history. It's good, don't get me wrong, and if you like the workflow, try it out, and if you like it and it works, use it. But there isn't much that I have shown you on this DAW that you can't do, especially if you're into the trap music, your samples. You can get Ableton and do the same thing. You can get FL Studio and do the same thing. And here's where it gets dicey, and it's no diss to Reason Studios, because again, I appreciate their simps. I have learned a lot about sound design through Reason. However, I'm going to read you, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to read you, this is from Ableton 8. Just going to go over some of the features. Multi-track audio recording, 32-bit to 192, MIDI sequencing of hardware and software instruments, unlimited number of audio and MIDI tracks. You have session view, real-time audio warping, automatically sync music loops regardless of the tempo, automatically, just out the gate. You have the Groove engine. You have your simple real-time mapping of your controllers. But here's the kicker. All right, they got support for VST, supports AIFF, Wave, Rex, MP3, full rewire support, multi-core and multi-processor support. So Ableton 8 came out back in like 2008, and they were running multi-core and multi-processing support, video import and export for scoring to video or warping video to music. Back in 2008, Ableton 8 had the ability to import video and warp it with the music and sync everything together. Now, depending on the version of Ableton you had to get standard, which was like $500, or you had to get suite, which was about $700 to $800 if you got it out the gate. But they took care of you in terms of how the program utilized the processor. They took care of you in terms of being able to sync your video with your audio. You have to do that in this program with the VST if you can find one. Now, Ableton has the ability to convert audio, polyphonic audio, into MIDI. Is it as good as a Melodyne? That's debatable, maybe not, but it's there. They have VST3 support. I think I said that already. They have, if you get the Suite Edition, you have a slew of instruments to choose from, as well as the fact that you have, slew of instruments to choose from. You got the audio abilities that this doesn't have. I think they still offer rewire support. They may have dropped it. It just, these programs give you more. You could argue that FL Studio, which is the opposite of Ableton, they You buy into FL Studio and it's lifetime free updates. They take their time, but lifetime free updates. You get a boatload of stuff. The sequencers, it has a reputation of being easy to work with. You can also use it as a plugin and a standalone DAW, although most people who use FL Studio don't talk about it as a plugin. They talk about it as a DAW. And so the reason I bring this up is not to be negative about Reason's product. Again, great product. It's fun to use, powerful instruments. And if you favor a particular workflow, then you favor it. However, in terms of the offerings that they provide for their customers, it's no secret that if you've been running Reason since Reason 10, matter of fact, if you've been running Reason longer than that, they haven't given their customers a lot to work with over the years, especially compared to other DAWs. And I think that's something that Reason Studios should really take note of, how you provide for your customers. Hopefully, as this product line continues to grow, not Reason in general, but as they go through this cycle of Reason 12, hopefully they will, add some more features to this rendition of Reason. Otherwise, I would say, for me personally, I don't see any major needs in upgrading unless you really love the Combinator and unless you really love Mimic. And I got a video that shows some alternatives to Mimic. I did not put up Serato Sample, but that would be one. And yeah, I've already mentioned some things that could compete with Combinator. So, that's just me, Tim Keys, one person out of 7 billion, giving my 2 cents. But again, overall, great product, update. And I'm on the fence about this one. $130 is still $130. And if I could save $130, I can also save up $200. I can also save up $400. I can also save up $800 to get something else that may suit my needs. So there's that. That's all I got. Tim Keys, if you've been watching this long, I appreciate you. Peace out.